Okay, Ilya, director, please come and join us. Dmitriy, come on. Give it up for Ilya. And the editor, Dmitriy. Hey guys. Well, first of all, Ilya, congratulations on making a very touching film on a very unique artist.
I thought you said twitching.
Touching, that's my Dublin accent, mate. Give me a break. So, you're a photographer by trade? It's your first feature film?
It's not the first film, but it's the first feature film.
Yeah, your first feature film. So what initially drew you to Jeffrey as a subject?
Well, let me answer that in a second. I just want to recognize a few people who have contributed and who are present today.
Go ahead.
We have author Estelle Bajou, who is the composer who wrote all the score to the film. Like, whenever Jeffrey is not singing, that's her playing.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we have Peter Dizosa and Sam Mori, who donated most of that archival footage, without which that film wouldn't be the film it is right now. The footage of Jeffrey and the old sidewalk cafe footage. We have Elizabeth Tokareва, who was the sound editor. We have Sitari Davipur, my partner, who did the second camera. And I don't know, he was supposed to show up, but I don't see him. Jim Testa, who is the music historian that you saw in the film, who provided the sort of historical context to anti-folk. But to answer your question, what was the question?
Well, I was kind of new. And so what initially drew you to Jeffrey as a subject?
Well, I guess I fell victim to, like, I got into the same trap as majority of people who I interviewed. The word that came up the most was relatable. Like, every second, third person would say, oh, Jeffrey Lewis is relatable. So I had listened to a few of his interviews, and I found him relatable. And like the documentary work that I've done before, it was, they were all self-portraits in one way or another. And so I tried to approach this as one as well.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a character who I could tell who I could, how do I put it, explore some things about myself through their perspective. Just because they might be more articulate or their story might be a little more cinematic than mine. So that's how, and first of all, when you watch his interviews, he's so eloquently spoken and articulate and funny.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, he's a tragic figure, so you kind of feel that juxtaposition of, tragedy and comedy.
Well, my second question was what were your first impressions, but obviously you've given them to me. But did your impressions of Jeffrey through the filmmaking process, have they changed much from your initial encounter?
It's been a while, I don't remember.
How long did it take you to make the film?
It took us a year, like maybe half a year of shooting, and then we edited for maybe another 6 months. And Dmitriy lost his job because of editing this film. Editing it while he was on the clock. Working remotely.
That was a bit cheeky, you got away with it. Dmitriy, how did you become involved in the project?
How did I what?
Become involved in the project?
I'm not sure, but we know each other for a long time. So.
Right.
And we lived in the East Village in the end of the 90s, beginning 2000s.
Right.
And
you were in the thick of it, the whole scene that we've seen.
I guess, and I don't know, we just do a lot of things together.
I think you got involved when like I started editing it and I showed
Oh, yeah.
to you like the first edit and he's like, no, that's all wrong. That's not gonna work. And then he became part of it.
And how did the experience of working on editing this project compare to previous films?
Well, I really like when the director knows what he wants to get out of it, and he's prepared with selects. You don't have to go through all the footage.
Right.
I don't necessarily go through all the footage when I edit, but definitely Ilya had like selects of stuff that he liked or he wanted, and then we made something out of it, and then we worked backwards to find things that were missing, I guess. And,
Right.
yeah, that was nice.
So Jeff's life and art are pretty non-linear, eclectic to say the least. Just wondering, how did you approach structuring the documentary to reflect that while keeping it like cohesive?
Everything kind of piled up because I didn't want to do a music documentary. I kind of wanted to just do a documentary. So it's something a little more like shorter and a little more conceptual about a musician, like maybe without even like using Jeffrey's music.
Yeah.
I had like several different ideas, but then when we started working with Dmitriy, he's like, oh, we have to explain what anti-folk is, and we have to explain who this person is, so it kind of like one thing led to another, and it became like a feature film, and then we have to put his music in so people know who he is. So it's like, it became like a whole thing that took a year out of my life.
but also like there's a dramatic structure to it. There's actually like classical like acts and stuff like that, because I just came out of like yet another film school by then, a couple of years passed, I guess, and this is like, okay, we have to apply this. This is gonna work.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a more tedious thing because you have to fit all those themes that he actually lives by and those important things that he has in his life, and everything needs to have a little place in those acts. And then becomes acts within the acts.
Sure, and Dmitri's music, like, it has a distinct rhythm and tone. Did that influence at all the pacing or transitions of the edit?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that actually. It kind of, you would think so, but I'm not sure that exactly, like, I think we followed more of the transitional. Sorry, I'm trying to find words, but I think we decided to go with the comics for transition rather than music, and music was my also like last choice of having like full songs or whatever.
Sure.
I'm not really a musical guy.
Yeah.
I may not be a right person to edit a music documentary. This was a documentary about this particular very interesting character, as a matter of fact, vulnerable and complex and creative, and the fact that he actually feels about art as something that's a rapturous experience and like godlike and stuff like that. Yeah. So a religious story that was more important to me than the musical aspect of it. But and then we decided his comic art would be more of a stylistic choice for tying things together rather than his music. And music is kind of yes. Music should be there, but it wasn't.
Great. Ilya, in terms of like choosing contributors or interviewees, how did you go about that? Like, was there anyone that you would have loved to have had as well that just wasn't available to include?
There have been a few like music journalists that I reached out to who either ghosted me or just never replied. But I'm trying to remember. No, I think pretty much I was happy with like people who agreed to talk to us.
Did Mark Riley, the BBC guy, was kind of, you could hear him in the background. Did you approach him at all?
I didn't really talk to him, but that was like I was present during while they were on air.
Yeah.
But we
All
didn't-
right. Okay, you were in the UK in the studio in Manchester.
Yeah, I was in a
Great.
studio in Manchester,
Right.
and then I filmed some more in Manchester, but I lost like a whole hard drive of footage from that day, so that it could have been more. It could have been longer, so it's.
That's live, isn't it? Could have one of Jeff's songs. No, I'm just curious because Mark Riley in BBC is how I became aware of Jeff about 11, 12 years ago when I first arrived in London from Dublin. So it's just nice having him in the film. I'm a big fan of the follow as well. But I've got a few more questions, Ross, but I'm going to throw it out to you guys. So because we, probably 10 or 15 more minutes. Have you got a mic there?
No, but I can use this one.
Oh.
She trusts you to hold her.
Yeah, were there ever days where, like, he just wasn't there, like, I sorry, I can't do it. Like, I'm trying to get a sense of, like, the longitudinal aspect of the mental health, like, did he ever just say, I'm sorry, I'm having sort of a bad day mentally or emotionally, and I can't do it. Thank you.
No, I think he's been living in his head for like 47 years, so he learned how to get around that. He never like flaked out on me or anything.
Thank you.
I'm just curious from like a structural perspective with the comics, how did you find the imagery that you wanted to use and link it? Like, did you go through it like for thousands of comic sheets, like tag them? Like, what was the process with that?
I mean, a lot of them are used like haphazardly. So I guess we put some thought into it, but there weren't like thousands of them. I went to his studio, to his apartment, and sort of only shot the images that I thought would be used for the film.
Yeah, but I think he comic arts like his whole life, so you can basically connect his art to everything he says usually, which Ilya selected obviously by himself. Then we selected it again from the editing standpoint.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Like we already had a film kind of like half made, and I knew exactly what kind of illustrations we needed, so I shot only those.
How did Jeffrey feel about the film, about being in a film?
It's hard to read him, and it's like, even if it, like no matter who you are, it's weird to see yourself on the screen, so like it's hard to really gauge what his reaction was, but I think he was pretty happy. I think he was kind of flattered that there is a film about him. The only concern that he has is that this film didn't show him as like a frontman of a band that plays bigger venues, because and he rightfully feels that way because most of the time he performs with a band in larger venues, but when I shot this, I wanted to illustrate, him being an outsider, him being a loner, him being, misunderstood. So I tried showing him sort of like alone with a guitar, traveling the world, playing like this dingy clubs and, doing everything himself.
I think a lot of editing actually took. Why it took us half a year, because he would send notes back. So we had to kind of go by his notes a little bit to satisfy the right thing to say.
To a degree, I mean,
Yeah.
every time you shoot a public figure of some sort, they have some sort of a control, but Jeffrey didn't withhold the information. He actually gave us more information than we needed. He's like, well, you should also like show my historical songs or stuff like that. So we had to like add a little more here, a little more there, but he wasn't like controlling the narrative that much.
A lot of interviewees actually said something that he didn't think was true, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, he's
So we had to
he's
kind
very
of-
meticulous about sort of historical correctness, because documentary is not really about the truth. Like I don't care whether it's true or not, but it's his life, so he's kind of like rightfully so. It's important to him.
Right, what was the narrative structure? Oh,
We
sorry.
just got a question, we'll pass the mic to you next.
So you say that he's really difficult to read because this kind of self-deprecating humor, right? And taking things that are deeply painful and obsessive to him and turning it into a song and everyone's laughing. And there's that moment where he says, oh, I have money and I'm doing great, I'm making money. And I can't tell if he's joking, so I just want to ask you a really simple question. Is he okay? Is he doing all right?
Like financially?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, he lives in like a
He gets by?
subsidized apartment. So I think he's going to be fine, better than us, you know.
Yeah, it's comparatively, he's comparatively well off. Like he doesn't need to be.
Yeah, plus he's not like spending money on stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering about when you mentioned that there's sort of a narrative that you got from film school that could be applied to the, the structure of the documentary and because it did seem to have a fullness, and I think coming to that conclusion is wonderful too, seeing it. So yeah, just wondered, what is that narrative format? Is there something describable about it?
Yeah. So you have a guy in a situation and what he does, and then there's something that happens, and you can go back to where you were before, and then you change,
What is
and then you change, the life changes, and then you have to get out and gain something and win something, and by losing something else. That's basically how I have it in my head.
Thank you.
There's one in the front here.
As
Just so that people are like
I had the pleasure of knowing Ilya for some time. He's probably acknowledges too. He's also known as a frontman for the sort of like a post-punk band. Maybe it's like a, I'm not sure.
Band punk.
Well, I would say he probably have a better self-description of the type of music he produces. It's called Mad Man. My question is, did he ever perform with the Jeffrey Lewis on stage, or how do you get to know him?
No, we're not really like we didn't know each other socially. I mean, we still don't. We have sort of like a very defined relationship as the subject and the director. I knew him because I have been following anti-folk artists for quite some time. Like, I'm a huge fan of outsider art, and I think anti-folk kind of falls into that category. And like back in like late 2000s, I had a playlist on my iPod with like a bunch of anti-folk, and that's how I came across Jeffrey. And yeah, I sort of emailed him, and I'm like, do you want to do a documentary? He's like, sure.
Did you ever get to participate in those open mics and sidewalk?
No, I've never actually been to Sidewalk. Like, I was never part of that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, we were actually living in the neighborhood, both of us, and I don't think I've never been to an open mic.
Well, we had better things to do.
Right.
You got a question at the back there,
Hey, great movie. Did you get a sense, or did you ask him or his brother why they stopped doing music together?
I didn't ask him, but I think his brother got married, he's got a kid, he moved to the West Coast. I think it wasn't like a fallout or anything. I think it's just life.
Yeah, he clearly cared about him a lot.
Did Jerry attend any of the film screenings?
Jeffrey?
I mean, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He actually, when we showed it in London, he flew in like last minute. He flew in and
Yeah.
attended it.
Very generously, yeah.
Yeah.
He gave us 24 hours notice and said, like, you know, Ilya was in town for the Q&A, that was brilliant. It was a UK premiere, and then Jeff, like a day before, said, oh, fuck this, I'm jumping on a plane. It was the night of the election, so he said he wanted to be over the Atlantic, and it was great. It was great to meet him. He turned up, did a great Q&A with Ilya, and then played several tunes. It was such a beautiful moment. It was great.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah. Unfortunately, we had, at that moment and that night, we planned this screening as part of this festival, and at the time, Jeff had an open calendar, but then, as you've seen in his life, he has to, you know, follow the opportunity. So unfortunately, he's actually somewhere in the UK at the moment, which is,
no.
or he's in Europe.
I mean, it's hard to follow him because, like a couple of days ago, I emailed him and he was in Germany, so
Oh, okay,
like,
yeah.
he could be anywhere.
He's somewhere in Europe anyway. Unfortunately, we had intended that we would coincide us being here with him being here, but we're going to do this again, hopefully in a couple of months' time, and hopefully Jeff will be available to do a Q&A if you want to see it a second time. Keep your eyes out for it. Any final questions from the audience today? No? I just wonder how, it's a pretty DIY artist, so I guess yours was DIY funded, or how did you put it together?
The budget was $3,000.
Great,
Somewhere.
well done.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, it came out of my pocket. Yeah.
Sure, and out of your manners, to say the least, both of you.
Well, that's a very good.
Has the experience of making this put you off documentary making for a while? Have you got other things on the horizon that you'd like to get stuck into? Or you?
No, I mean I have a bunch of stuff slated as far as projects. Like for the past few years, I have been working a lot on like music videos for clients and for myself as well. So if you guys, musicians in the audience, need any music videos, hit me up. But as far as documentaries, yeah, it takes a toll on you to do a feature film without a budget.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And not even from the production stand of view, but like administrative duties and stuff like that, and promotional duties. So I would probably not attempt like to do a self-funded feature documentary, like within the next couple of months.
pretty draining.
Yeah, so I need a little bit of a break, but he has other ideas about life in general and filmmaking.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we shot a feature fiction actually, and trying to finish that thing. And planning to do more self-funded fiction features in the future. And Ilya is there all the time for us, and hopefully he's going to be maybe shooting that as a similar type.
Great. I just want to, so Ilya, what would you like the audience to take away from this one? Why did you kind of set out to make it, and like, what do you think you'd like the audience to take from it?
I don't know. What did you guys take out of it? See, nothing.
I think that it was amazing portrait of this musician. I didn't know anything about him, but after seeing the film, I feel like I know him a little bit.
Great.
You know, and that's, I think, is very important.
That's
I
a result.
He also really struck me as a very genuine person and someone who's very honest with himself, and I think that his songs are great.
Yeah, no, it's very touching. That's what I would say.
Also, I couldn't find any like a feature or any sort of documentaries about anti-folk, and I thought it was important to show that, like to open a window into that scene. I've been told that there is some films made about it, but I've never encountered any.
They're so under the radar, they're just buried there.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we'll leave it at that. Well done in bringing it to life. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Had you had a bad experience with crowdfunding? You don't like crowdfunding?
Well, I crowdfunded other projects.
Because there's one on my radar, Joe Myers is going to get one out about the Vietnam.
Yeah, I guess that's what an accomplishment.
Sorry, I just put it in 2 words, but obviously it's not just like 3 things that I talk about. Yeah, it's I actually took it into it works because there's a lot of material there.
I mean, there was an arc. I know we've had, this Colm movie that sort of had a definitive. I mean, doing what feature films.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to spoil for producing his career. It's a genre. It's a thriller fantasy. It's called The Beach Town. Hopefully, by this fall, maybe.
Well, it's interesting you weren't cutting to the music, you know, some people are so ruled by the music, and that the incidental music that you chose.
So I did like the story.
Yeah, I don't like to
Or even let the music die, like I can see the music.
Yeah, like right now we try to mark the music points for the feature, and I feel like I'm lost. We have like several composers that's writing for us, and it's a little
Play to the finished film.
yeah, probably not to the music, but music plays to the film.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, right, I guess you did, you made it look very good, because you zoomed in.
Yeah, we cut here. I have a lot of stuff from those movies. Thank you.
I'm kind of a fan of the Ken Russell approach with the music, you know, and I'm totally wound back. So, you know, a little bit of thank you. I think it's got a long life. This is definitely amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, well, like a butterfly. We'll figure it out. Yeah. But you know, yes. Yeah.
I just think like it gets pretty intense.
Every time I watch it, I'm like,
It gets pretty intense.
yeah, I don't know.
Initially, like you're into it suddenly.